Chairs, members of the committee, good afternoon, and thank you for including the testimony of incarcerated people in today's proceedings. My name is James Cowan, and I appear today to speak in favor of Senate Bill 2114 and House Bill 3422 that would set a 5-year moratorium on the building of new jails and prisons. I've been incarcerated for almost 20 years, and during those 2 decades, I have experienced how important architecture is in the rehabilitation process. Our jails and prisons feature an abundance of razor wire, fences, cameras, concrete, and steel. This infrastructure has an oversized influence on the culture inside jails and prisons, creating an oppressive, opaque boxes built primarily to store people away. I ask the members of this committee to think outside of the box. Massachusetts needs to move past outdated forms of corrections and develop a modern system of supervision and rehabilitation. That will not happen if the state is allowed to build new detention facilities. Data and experience have shown that steel and concrete boxes do not work, that these boxes are harmful to incarcerated people, staff, and the community. Yet the DOC and county sheriffs continue to create such spaces to facilitate punishment presented as rehabilitation. The recently completed Secure Adjustment Unit, or SAU, here at MCI-Shirley provides one such example. Sure, prison and jail administrators will today talk about building facilities that feature more natural light and holistic spaces, but they are still talking about constructing boxes to store people. Modern technology and advanced risk assessments provide opportunities today that didn't exist in the past. We now have the tools to effectively and safely monitor people in nursing homes, drug and alcohol rehab centers, and private homes, rather than just in carceral settings. Shifting housing, especially low-risk housing from jails and prisons to community-based solutions, allows individuals to tap into the vast network of rehabilitation resources outside the traditional prison box, which lowers the overall costs borne by the public. I live in the medical unit at MCI-Shirley. It is a space that is falling apart as I speak, due in large part to poor planning and neglect. The 2 primary handicap showers are offline because they all but collapsed through the floor last year. The large day room is shuttered because it is no longer safe to use. My cell is literally sinking into the ground along with the rest of the west side of the building. Administrators here want to build a new health services building. This bill would allow that to happen. While I fully support providing a modern health clinic, I fear what the DOC really seeks is to build a prison nursing home to house low-risk elderly and ill people. We must break this mindset. We cannot support building more boxes and then boxes inside of those boxes. We cannot rely on an 18th century solution to a 21st century problem. I ask the committee to advance the prison and jail moratorium bills and to send a clear message to our correction leaders that it is time to think outside of the box. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We have now Derek Washington.
You all hear me? Yeah, first I want to say it's a pleasure to be before you all. This is my 2nd time testifying on this bill. And first I just want to encourage you all, before we allocate $50 million to take action to build a prison, just to consider what that process would look like. Like, I would encourage every elected official to first come inside of a prison. 127 subsection 36 allows you to do that. When you come inside a prison, the first thing that you will notice is a snow white administration solely governed over a majority Black and brown population carte blanche with so much authority that they act callous towards the individuals that they preside over. Yeah, of course, you're gonna see the rehabilitative processes. You might see a few individuals smiling. You might see an individual working out or going to a college program and think like, oh, these guys are being treated well in there, or these women are being treated well. But what I want you to do when you go inside, I really want you to just take appreciation to the energy of it. How does it make you feel? Because energy communicates something that can't be communicated. I seen my first suicide, or learned about my first suicide in prison in 2009. It was a guy named Sean Noonan. They found him hanging from a bed sheet in the cell. And it was like, what is he going through that would allow him to take his own life? But what hit me the most is when my friend Scott Rose committed suicide. Scott Rose was full of life. That was around 2011, 2012. I've been incarcerated 20 years and have been seeing this with a level of frequency that is unnatural. And I've come to learn that Massachusetts is among one of the highest states in the country for suicides. But prison is a total environment, and it's a principal factor within a total environment, meaning that total environments have recreation spaces, it has chapels, it has cafeterias, you can live in it wholly. But when you go to the recreation space or you go to the chapel, the prison is not within the chapel is within the prison. The recreation is not the prison, the recreation space is within the prison. So when you look at it like that, there's this penumbra of misery, this cloud of heaviness. So I'm saying all of this to say that when you come inside a prison, I want you to compare it to when you step out of a prison, the weight that you're going to be relieved from. The fact that when you come out, you're not going to have contemplations about what's going on in these places. Why would we spend $50 million to build places which make people consider taking their lives on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis? I feel like when we buy real estate in society, you want to make sure the housing is right, has adequate bathrooms, it has a proper amount of sunlight, everything to make you feel good. We don't want to continue to invest into our own degradation, because these are individuals who are eventually at some point coming back into society. This is my second time testifying on this bill, and I hope it won't have to be a third time. I hope the bill is passed and we invest money into individuals instead of places. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity, and I'm out.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, Derek. Any questions, any comments? We don't. Thank you, Derek.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome to the committee, Representative Armini. Welcome. Now we have Gabriel Espada.
Hello, and good afternoon. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Gabriel Espada, and I'm from Springfield, Mass. I originally was from Springfield, Mass. I've been locked up, gonna be 24 years at the end of this year. And I support Bill S.2114, and I want to support it through speaking about my personal experience before, prior, and after incarceration. Before, I came from a home that was built off morality. We didn't have the best, yet we didn't have the worst. And it wasn't until that house broke apart that I resorted to crime and living in a world that basically I thought I needed to survive. Going from home to home, didn't really have nowhere to stay. And I believe that we don't need more prisons. And the reason being is because we need to find those individuals that can be prospects in our communities to help build our communities and keep them, prevent prison. These funds should be utilized and pushed for those type of programs to find these at-risk youth that need help and know that we care about them, that this state cares about them and wants to see them succeed in the state to create a positive environment, a good community, and so forth. So that's why I support this bill, personally. Also, my experience in being incarcerated, I see a myriad of other ways this money could be used. Like other brothers talked about, in the bill it speaks about repairing and renovating. In the gym here at Shirley Medium, they have fiberglass exposed in the gym. It's falling from the ceiling. There's fans blowing. So, with that being said, that's toxic to individuals' health. It creates cancer and so forth. These things need to be repaired. We have a child hall that was built and they spent money on years ago that we haven't used yet because of code policy. Because of code, it's not even up to code, so it wasn't even built right. We go through 3,000 styrofoam trays a day. That is taking money from the state. Not only because of us purchasing it, but also because of us discarding it, disposing it. So there's a bunch of other things that we need to look at to better these conditions, as well as create avenues to prevent incarceration as well as reduce incarceration. We knocked it down pretty far in the last couple of years because after COVID, it got cut in half. So I also want to propose that this money be used for, I could say like, to produce real jobs experience for individuals where they can earn sustainable wages so that they can also contribute to their families on the street. So that'll be taken away from the tax burden for the people, our people in the state as well. If we could contribute to our families by utilizing work release programs or a remote work we could do from computers. We have computer programs here. It's just different things that we could be utilizing this money for to help, like I said, reduce and prevent incarceration and actually give back to our families. So with that being said, I want to ask you guys 3 questions. I want to say, what direction are we looking to travel in? Are we looking to continue a never-ending rotation of incarceration? Or will we invest in the people and create ways for the less fortunate to become a successful citizen despite their circumstances? I thank you for this opportunity, and I hope you guys rule in favor of this bill.
Thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate testimony. We have now next up. We have now Anthony Moore.
Good afternoon to the committee. Before I start, I just want to give a quick shout out to the speaker, man. The speaker has made this a very lighthearted proceeding so far, man. I appreciate him. Mr. Cabral, I definitely appreciate you for that. So, I just want to start off with in terms of the prison moratorium. Why would we need a new prison? A new prison would suggest that we need more room, crime is on the rise, and the 2018 crime bill is not working, which we all know that is not the case. So what do we need? I believe that what we need is a reinvestment into the vocational education and adequate mental health. In 2020, the Department of Justice deemed that Massachusetts DOC regarding the mental health advocacy was unconstitutional. And with that being said, the unconstitutionality of it is that we are not getting adequate care in terms of our mental health. Mental health is a serious issue right now. So I wanted to go on a little bit of embarkment in terms of what we actually do need. So I did a little ethnographic research. And with that research, I found I had actually asked some of the CEOs inside here, what is it that we need? So what we need is a reinvestment into our correctional officers. Instead of calling the correctional officers, we need to cultivate them. In terms of cultivating, we need to invest into them having proper mental health training, amongst other things. For instance, we are already short of staff in here this past Mother's Day. Me personally, my mother just got out of the hospital on Friday, and thankfully, I have the skill set to process all of my emotions properly in a way that is not detrimental to the prison environment. However, we were forbidden from going outside that day because of a shortage of staff. Now, what about the other incarcerated individuals who don't have those skill sets to do that? It could have been something more detrimental, but it wasn't, thankfully. It's just that these are the things that we do need to address. Another viewpoint that I want to say is that in terms of the vocational, one of the most violent prisons in this country right now is Angola. And Angola actually has a mechanics program. On this facility, all we have is culinary and barbershop, which means that we are all services. There are individuals in here that are being trained to serve and not to be their own bosses and entrepreneurs. So what I do suggest, or I do in terms of my testimony, from what I've seen in my research, is that what we should do is we should reinvest in terms of what kind of education some of these brothers are getting, because yes, there are college programs, but college is not for everyone. And what we need to do is we need to reinvest into the mental health and into our vocational so that we can have better citizenship throughout the state. Thank you.
You want a question? Representative Tyler has a question.
Not a question, but a quick comment, just to thank you.
Quick comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you so much for your testimony. I just wanted to just comment on some things you said, and also too, just to pass the message to the gentleman who just went before you. He asked a question, and I wanted to try to answer it as much as I possibly could, but I wasn't able to because he got off so quickly. But everybody deserves an answer to that question, and so his question kind of cross-intersected with your question, was about like what direction are we going in, and like what are we doing here as it relates to what we're talking about here, the $50 million. And so I just want to make a quick comment about that. First and foremost, I would say that, as you can see, you look at the numbers as far as who's being incarcerated and actual people who are actually in our facilities, our numbers are going down. And that is, due to a lot of the work that we're doing in the community and at the State House, at the different cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth. And so we're going to work really hard to continue to pass legislation here at the Commonwealth to try to contribute to making sure that folks are able to go home. Secondly, one thing that we're doing to be able to be supportive of the direction that we're going in is making sure that folks, when they do release from these facilities, are able to have housing. We did learn that a lot of folks are disqualified from living in many different places that they would like to sign up for. You see they're building everywhere across the Commonwealth, but a lot of people that are unfortunately in our Department of Corrections are disqualified, are not able to apply for those types of housing. They're not qualified. And so we're trying to open up as many doors as we possibly can to make sure that folks can actually go to their home and not be able to be subject to not having a home to go to. That's number two. And last and certainly not least, around the workforce and development, which you spoke a lot towards. We all care a lot about that here on this committee and throughout the State House. And we're trying to do our best to be able to make sure that as these industries grow, it's the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, business is booming. Again, they're building everywhere as it relates to construction. We just legalize the adult use of cannabis. The cannabis industry is growing. All these industries are growing. And so we're trying to make sure that we can open up doors to, allow folks to be able to get into those industries through workforce and development programs and in the different facilities. And I definitely heard you on that, culinary and barbers. Not everybody wants to do that, but a lot of folks to be able to create more ways to be their own boss or just in the line of entrepreneurship makes more sense. And so we heard you, and we definitely will make sure that we're working hard to create those opportunities. So if you have ideas, if there's some industries that folks that are specifically interested in, reach out to us. Let us know what folks are interested in or what makes sense, given that you potentially, may still be suffering from having a quarry once folks do get home, and we'll take that into consideration and work hard to create those opportunities. So thank you for testifying, and pass the message to you, boy. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Anthony. We have Michael Browner. Michael.
Greetings. Legislative hearing. Thank you for hearing my testimony today in support of Senate Bill 2114 and a moratorium on prison construction. My name is Michael Bronner, and today I address you as both a warner and offer you but a reminder of a time 400 years ago when 700 men and women fled the persecution and oppression of their native lands in order to seek the promise of freedom and opportunity in the wilderness of the New World. Faced with a future filled with uncertainty and peril, a man rose from amongst them, calling upon them to form a mutual covenant of consent, to face whatever that came with a solid, unified will, united with the bonds of struggle and brotherly love. That 700 men and women formed the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that embarked upon a journey to create a city upon a hill, a beacon of light and hope. For when the settlers that followed, they would pray of their cities, may they look like New England. May they look like New England. Our country and our state, consecrated in the blood of progress, has led the independence movement, the abolition movement, the education movement, and the fight for equal rights. Yet we stand now in the pivotal moment of history as our nation faces again a crisis of conscience. We stand now at the precipice, forced to reckon with the complexities of our past and the potential of our future. So when I'm asked, should we continue to invest in prisons and punishment and profits at the expense of our own citizens, I pose to the honorable men and women of this hearing the same question that Obama once posed. Are our politics of cynicism or are they of hope? For surely states do not build prisons for the men and women already contained within them, but for their children. And for those that are confident that the children that will fill them will not be theirs, I ask that we resist the impulses of our prejudice to more surely secure the bonds of mutual affection. For the direction of every society rests in the steps of its youth. What hope do we have as a society when we rather funnel our children from classrooms into courtrooms? What direction is our society headed in when we rather invest in correctional centers instead of community centers? What right do we have to call our great state a commonwealth when we ignore the concerns of the common good? What power lies in the policies of princes and presidents and politicians when they conflict with the interests of its own people? And for those that may proclaim the benefits of prison, make no mistake, for I have some experience within them, that they have always been and will always be penitentiaries without penitence, warehouses without dignity, institutions of inhumanity. And if you knew the truth of how they corrupted the souls of both the wardens and their wards, the objective of today's hearing would be to abolish them, not build them. So, in this moment of history, I ask today's leaders and legislators, will history tell how we fulfilled the noble ideals of a city upon a hill, a beacon of collective will? Will we march forwards as leaders in liberty, as defenders of our most sacred democracy, or will history tell how we failed to shoulder the burdens of our better angels. I end with how I begin, asking the question of everyone present: are politics of cynicism or of hope? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, any, no? Anthony Garvin?
I was told Mr. Garvin didn't want to participate.
Okay. So let's move on to John Cavallo.
Yep.
Hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Jonathan Carvalho. I'm a Mattis juvenile lifer and also a recent graduate from the Boston College Prison Education Program. And I'm going to be reading from an article by Morin and Jukes known as Rethinking the Sustainability of the Carceral State, and I will comment on this article. Morin and Jukes say, in visualizing the sustainable correctional detention facility of the future, in the same document, the recommendation to replace traditional wire, perimeter fences with building walls and planted boundaries was intended to allow the facility to be viewed by neighbors as a more normal part of the community. I've been incarcerated for 15 years. I don't have one disciplinary action for gang activity, violence, or drugs. And my laptop this morning was confiscated because of the punitive culture that exists here, even though I have a presentation tomorrow that's due at Boston College. So the problem with prison in my 15 years of experience is that it's a militarized environment. This militarized environment that we are victim to here is counterintuitive to the penal philosophy and to rehabilitation. So now that this is a problem, I want to offer the solution. Where Morin and Jukes continue. Although considered penal anomalies, there are 4 therapeutic community prison wings in the UK and 1 whole TC prison, HMP Gwynedd in Buckinghamshire, specializing in treating violent offenders who predominantly suffer from psychotherapy or personality disorders. So the reality of someone who commits a crime against the state is that this is a psychotherapeutic type of scenario that has to be treated. For as long as we have punitive behavior, for it is a psychotherapeutic crisis, then we can never have resolutions. So I'm instead offering that the state would instead fund therapeutic landscapes, instead of actually creating prisons that are militarized and punitive that only do more to spur on criminal behavior. I believe that's concise. I look forward to speaking to you in the future, and I'm really hoping that the state will do more to not fund prisons and build prisons, but instead build therapeutic landscapes, and I will be happy to offer more insight. My name is Jonathan Cavallo, W99799. I can be reached at Shirley, Massachusetts, and I hope to see you again. Good luck and God bless.
Thank you very much.